We're talking about British comedy again on DVD. This is the second part of the video. I did actually originally make this last week, but it was rejected by YouTube, the bastards, because it was like 20 seconds too long or something. Honestly, dearie me, it's like Nazi Germany all over again. Right, okay, so here we have the IT Crowd. This is great. Hopefully quite a few of you will have seen this. It's written by Graham Linehan, who was partly one of the writers on Father Ted, which I spoke about in my previous video. And this is great. There's great characters in it. Moss, who you'll probably know, he's one of the IT Crowd. And there's the other guy and the woman whose name I can't remember. My girlfriend's actually a bigger fan of this than I am, but I just love the theme tune. And there's a couple of really funny episodes. And there's the guy who plays Dr. Lucian Sanchez in Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. I can't remember his name, but he's the guy with that voice, and he's in The Mighty Boosh as well. I'm sure you know him. But the IT Crowd's very good, and the menu systems are so funny in this. They kind of have little references to old like 80s and 90s computer games and kind of internet memes that sprung up around them, like "All your base are belong to us" and that kind of thing. So have a look at that one. Going back in time, we've got some classic Don't Tell Him Pike. We've got some Dad's Army. These are two best of volumes, the very best of, and the very best of volume 2. I think those are the only ones that have been released. And then they've released the complete series on DVD as well, but I haven't bought those. And obviously Dad's Army is a true classic. Great performances. Some people would say it's dated now, I guess, but sod them. They don't know what they're talking about. But still fantastic performances from Arthur Lowe and John, I can never pronounce his name, John Le Mesurier, is that how you pronounce it? I don't know, but Wilson, everyone knows him as Wilson. So some classic episodes in there, and these are ones which I started collecting with a magazine. It was like $7.99 for a magazine and the DVD, but it would have meant I'd have to take out a second mortgage if I bought the entire collection, so I didn't. Okay, Stella Street. This is a bit different. This is two comedians, John Sessions, in fact, and Phil Cornwall, who play famous people living on a street. And the impressions are really funny. They're not that accurate, but they're really kind of caricatures, and you know exactly who they're supposed to be. So you've got Joe Pesci and Michael Caine. And you've got Al Pacino living next door to Jack Nicholson. And it's just really, really funny. It's quite an original idea, actually. It's very clever. They made a movie of it, actually, a while ago, but I don't think it did very well. It's a bit of a niche thing, I guess. Pennis from Heaven. This is Dennis Pennis, his DVD. He's the comedy alter ego of Paul Kay, I believe his name is. And this is very funny. This is kind of comedy guerrilla interviewing before Bruno and Borat and all of Ali G and all of Sacha Baron Cohen's other characters did it. He'd basically interview people on the red carpet as they were going into film premieres and that kind of thing, and just be really rude whilst the people all around him were trying to get interviews and kind of trying to butter up the celebrities. Like he asked Steve Martin, like he went to shake his hand, he's like, "So Steve, tell me, how come you're not funny anymore?" Which was really harsh because like Steve Martin hadn't been in anything genuinely funny since like 1991, and apparently he refused to come to the UK after that because he was so upset by it. But you know, never mind. It was funny. Still Game. A lot of people probably won't know about this. This is a BBC Scotland sitcom about two old guys. Well, they're not actually old. The guys who play them are, I think, in their 30s or something, but they're made up to look old. And it's just kind of their exploits around the Glasgow area, just generally being badly behaved OAPs. It sounds kind of naff, but it's actually really funny. It's quite sweet in places, and it's quite dark as well. And yeah, so do give that a watch. They have quite strong Glaswegian accents though, so you kind of have to get used to it. But after a while, your brain just kind of tunes itself into listening to Glaswegian accents. Okay. Black Books. This is another very good one by Graham Linehan, who wrote Father Ted, and this has got a great cast: Dylan Moran and Bill Bailey, of course, the wonderful Bill Bailey, the multi-talented Bill Bailey. And it's actually probably my least favourite series that he's done, and I haven't bothered getting the third series because I didn't think it was very good. But there's a few episodes, especially in the first series, that are very, very funny and worth checking out. Martial Lecture. Hey, this was kind of a product of its time. It's weird I haven't watched these for a long time. But this was really good when it was out because it was very current. It kind of I remember that each week they would include stories, like celebrity stories that had happened during the week, and they'd have little sketches and skits with Avid Marion. Thank you, please. And it was also the series that is responsible for ruining Craig David's career. Of course, because Bell Selector, the whole thing's named after his famous ridiculous catchphrase. And this is the character of Craig David, of course. And he owns a peregrine falcon called Kez, and he pisses himself. And there's Michael Jackson as well, or at least Lee Francis being Michael Jackson. And he swears a lot in that series anyway. Okay, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. This is fantastic. A lot of people haven't heard of this, I know, but I'm sure a lot of you have. It's kind of a piss take of 1980s action sort of sci-fi TV series. I'm trying to think of an equivalent, but oh, it's you'd really know, like as soon as you see this, you know exactly what it's taking the piss out of. And it's set in kind of a hospital with spooky goings on, and it's kind of action at the same time, and very low budget, and it's very cleverly done. And it's got Moss from the IT crowd again, and Lucian Sanchez. This is actually Dr. Lucian Sanchez in this, yes. There he is. And Moss. But it's a very funny DVD again. There's a commentary throughout all the episodes with the people in character, so that's great. Spaced, this is fantastic. This is obviously Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright and Nick Frost before they went on to bigger and better things in Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. Well, I say bigger and better, certainly bigger, not necessarily better, because this is fantastic. I do actually have a kind of a vested interest in this DVD because I happen to be in it very briefly. There's a picture of me on the third disc, the bonus disc. They're talking about Spaced fans, and there's a picture from a promotional event that I went to in Camden in London. And if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, I'm there wearing a blue Star Wars T-shirt with bleached hair, back in my younger days. Banzai, Super Banzai Video Show. This was mental. It's kind of a piss take of Japanese game shows, but produced by Channel 4, so obviously it's not really Japanese. And it's probably too odd to go into, but it's kind of, you're supposed to play along at home and gamble about various things, like there's two squirrels, and you have to guess which one of the squirrels is going to be lifted up in the air by balloons first. And you can play along at home and guess, and it gives you the answer afterwards. It's pretty weird, it's pretty hard to explain, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. Blackadder, haha, Blackadder goes fourth, Blackadder the third, Blackadder the second. These are all wonderful, each set in a different time period of British history. Blackadder 2 is Elizabethan, I think the third is Georgian, I think, and the fourth, I believe, is, oh yeah, of course, it's set in World War I in the trenches. And they're all wonderful. I haven't actually got the first series because I didn't think it was very good, but of course everyone knows about Blackadder. Wonderful. Not very good DVDs, there's no special features, but when it's that good, you know, it doesn't have to have them. A few LEG DVDs, obviously not much to say about them, apart from Borat. Borat was introduced in the second one, I think. Yeah, he's kind of got a little bit of his own. But LEG is obviously fantastic. This is his first one from the stuff that he did on the 11 o'clock show, which was followed by that. And there's also LEG in the USA, which I've lent to someone, which has Bruno on as well. Okay, this is stuff by the Little Britain guys. This is their first thing that they did. This is Matt Lucas and David Williams and Rock Profile, and I think this is actually better than Little Britain. Basically, they play a different pop star in each one, being interviewed by Jamie Theakston, and they're really, really funny, like Steps. You get Lee and H from Steps, and they're both like a couple of 5-year-olds, basically, as you'd expect. And he plays Graham Coxon from Blur and ABBA, and it's really, really funny. Definitely check that out. It's very, very funny. And the Little Britain series, I loved it when it first came out, but it just became a series of catchphrases, and they'd just wheel out the characters, they'd say their catchphrases, and then they'd piss off again. So it became very, very predictable after the first series. I did get the second and third series, though, because the commentaries are always funny. And the special features are always great, like the outtakes and stuff, but not brilliant. That's the Comic Relief special, which I believe had Elton John in it. And, oh no, that's the first series. This one is the Comic Relief special, which had Elton John and George Michael. And Robbie Williams doing, dressing as a woman, as he tends to do. Right, okay, so that's the second half of my British comedy DVDs, and thanks to everyone who's subscribed, and I shall see you soon. Bye-bye.